In the daily heads up routine, do you remember the first step? This was where we review the previous day's achievements and issues. This practice has helped me become more self-aware. And as we know, self-awareness is one of the key areas of high performance. The more we can develop our self-awareness, the more we can perform and lead ourselves well. So I became more self-aware of my personal bandwidth. I asked myself, what can I cope with realistically as my daily work in progress? Initially, I was disappointed. I'd planned to get this amount of work done, but I seemed to get less done than I had hoped, something more like this. But then I began to realize it wasn't so much that I was unproductive, rather it was that I was dangerously over-optimistic about what I could usefully attempt in any given day. My daily review helped me moderate my expectations and become more realistic in what I estimated. I don't know if you're finding this as you go through the daily review. You're probably tuning how much you actually take on in terms of your planning for the next day by doing the retrospective and looking back on the previous day. But then something else happened. I became energized when I seemed to overtake my estimates and even exceed them. It seems that as I reduced my workload, I got through it faster. Now, this is a phenomenon that is harnessed by business practices like lean manufacturing and agile development, and it's to carefully limit the work in progress. Consider that as a team goes through its work, it flows through a sort of pipe. This pipe has got a bandwidth. There seems to be a key to higher throughput if we narrow that band. This counterintuitive discipline of not keeping too many activities in mind has the effect of speeding up the flow through the pipe of the team's day. Lean manufacturing has developed a workflow board called Kanban. Now, it's a board on which any member of the team can stick cards or notes signifying pieces of work. The Kanban board is structured into columns that have a process sequence from left to right. And a Kanban has only two rules. The first is that you need to see everything that's waiting or is in progress or is finished. You need to visualize everything. And the second is to strictly limit the team's work in progress. Then I discovered personal Kanban. It revolutionized the flow of my work. I have learned to limit my ambitions about what I can cover in a day. If I can commit to attempting a smaller number of tasks, it not only helps motivate me, but it also seems to speed up the work across my desk. Frequently, I find that I can complete those tasks and sometimes more in that day, so I find myself ahead of the game. This builds in me a strong sense of overcoming the waiting giant of work piling up for me. Now, the reverse is also true. I can discourage myself if I am overambitious in what I think I can take on in a day. And I fall far short of this, and then I get discouraged. Over-optimism in estimating, either in our personal work or even in multi-billion-dollar projects, is a well-documented phenomenon. It's a cognitive bias that we all have in our thinking, and it's called the optimism bias. And we need to compensate for this cognitive bias. We have a limited daily bandwidth. Remember, a relatively limited brain space in our conscious thinking, in that pre-frontal lobe. When we plan, we have a bias to attempt too much. Then, when we don't achieve what we set out to do, we get distracted and discouraged. It's better to be conservative to begin with and exceed our expectations.